Hello, this is my first video in this new format, and I'm going to do host for major tournaments, and I'm doing the big four, at least in my opinion, which is the Men's and Women's World Cup and the Winter and Summer Olympics. So, in case you didn't already know, I'm going by pretty much most recent to happen to furthest out. And in case you didn't know, for the Women's World Cup, the next host will be Brazil. For the Men's World Cup, it'll be Spain, Portugal, and Morocco, with one-off games in Paraguay, Uruguay, and Argentina, sort of like as the centenary thing, and then 34 is going to be in Saudi Arabia. And as for the Olympics, summer, we already got Los Angeles 28 and Brisbane in 32, and then winter we got French Alps, Milan 26, French Alps 30, and Salt Lake 34. So basically, I want to do sort of a prediction and give my ideas who the next hosts of the major tournaments. First, we're going to do the Women's World Cup. We're going to do the one after Brazil, because this will be the most recent one. And I'm going to go through all the interested bids and see which candidates look the best. So we have China, Japan, Morocco, South Africa, Mexico, and the US. You have the UK, Ireland, and Spain. First, in my opinion, I'm going to eliminate Spain and Morocco because there's no way they're going to host the Women's World Cup 1 year after the men's. There's a reason why Mexico and the US pulled out for 27. It's because it just made no sense with the Men's World Cup a year before. So we're going to sort of skim through all the other bids. So China is interesting choice to say the least. They have all the good stadiums out there. Let me look up. Yes, so there's a bunch of stadiums China can choose from. Just going through. They're like building new ones pretty much every year, and I don't even know what they're used for. So, let's just look at some of the more notable ones. This was from the Asian Games back in 2010. This was obviously the famous Olympic Stadium. I think this is the one for last year's Asian Games. Yeah. So basically, you got no shortage, plus you got all the venues that were built for the canceled Asian Cup as well. So, and there's obviously more to come. But my only problem with China is they kind of have a so-so reputation with hosting things, because they've suddenly withdrew from the 2003 Women's World Cup because of some outbreak. So that had to get postponed to 2007, with the United States hosting back-to-back tournaments instead. Obviously, we all know the problems they had with zero COVID policy that affected both the Beijing Winter Olympics as well as the most recent Asian Games. And I know we shouldn't talk politics, but China doesn't really have the best reputation on the geopolitical stage, so that could be a problem for them in hosting a major event. But I would say China as a host would be similar to Saudi Arabia for the Men's World Cup in 2034. Japan is interesting because they've actually bid since the 2002 World Cup. They've bid for several tournaments, whether it be the 2022 World Cup or the 2023 Women's World Cup. They actually have had some interest in bidding for events to no success, but but I'm actually going to look at the stadiums there to see. So first problem you'll see right here are running tracks here, and then there's baseball stadiums, so that kind of isn't really a good look. So you could probably get away with the National Stadium due to its significance, but other than that, you're going to want perfect rectangles. So probably Saitama, which is famous for the men's national team's qualifying matches, would probably be one of the main ones for the Women's World Cup should they host it. Let's see who else would be a good one. Oh, the one in Nagoya would be good. Sapporo. This one in Osaka would be good as well. So the options would be kind of limited in Japan, but I think if this is a 32-team World Cup, Japan would be good hosts if they were a 32-team, but there's already rumors this is going to be 48 teams, so if that's the case, then that will realistically eliminate Japan. Now on to South Africa. I think it's a similar situation in South Africa too. That you have a lot of good stadiums from the 2010 World Cup, but if it's 48 teams, you're going to realistically eliminate South Africa. So on to, I think, the two strongest bids, and that's the UK and Ireland. So actually, there's going to be tons. Like, obviously you want Wembley to be the main one. And then you have, like, the stadiums from Euro 2028 for the men's. Like, you have Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, I know is going to be used for that. The Etihad, St. James Park, Hampden, Villa Park. I know those are a few that are going to be used for the upcoming Euro. And then when you include that, there's 9 stadiums going to be used for that Euro. Plus, you have some really solid stadiums that aren't going to be used. Like, you have Sunderland you could use. You could have Sheffield. You could probably say 2 in Sheffield. You also have Leeds, Middlesbrough, Derby, just name a few off the top of my head. So the options for the UK and Ireland, plus you have over in Ireland too as well. So far, really the only one that I could really see used there is the one that the national football/soccer team uses, because I highly doubt the GAA will be generous and give their stadiums. And then the one I think's the favorite is Mexico and the USA. Of course, you have the 2026 World Cup and all the great stadiums there. And I think the United States kind of goes without saying. A lot of these are college football stadiums, just ignore those. So, like, a lot of them that I know are going to be used for the World Cup, like we have SoFi, Mercedes-Benz, NRG, Arrowhead. Those are, I'm just skimming through, AT&T. You have those that are going to be used at the what's it called, World Cup for the men's one, and they'll do perfect for the women's. And as for Mexico, excuse me, in a little trouble here. Here we go. You obviously have the 3 from the World Cup: Azteca, the new Monterrey one, as well as the new Guadalajara one. Then you have some other solid options you can see here too. So US-Mexico, I think, will make a strong combined bid, especially if it's 48 teams. So as for my prediction, who I think will host, so assuming that it's going to be bumped up to 48, I'm going to realistically eliminate Japan and South Africa. So that leaves China, UK, Ireland, and then Mexico, US. Given China's sort of foreign reputation, I'm going to eliminate them too. So now it's between Mexico, US, and then UK and Ireland. So to predict, I know the FIFA president has already said he wants the 2029 Club World Cup in the US. And that's after the 2025 one, which is also in the US. So he definitely has interest in the US, and the fact that their bid was announced so early, and not only that, but 90% of their 2031 bid is ready to go. They just need to change a few words from their 2027 bid, which was doomed to fail. So with that in mind, I'll say Mexico and the US will get that tournament, but the UK and Ireland are massive negotiators because they were able to convince Turkey to withdraw from the 2028 Euro and partner up with Italy for 2032. And with that in mind, the UK and Ireland can strike a deal to get it in 2035. So that's my prediction. For the 2036 Summer Olympics, this is already going to be interesting. So far, you have the confirmed ones. You have this city in Indonesia, Istanbul, Turkey, somewhere in India, and then Santiago, Chile. I would not say anywhere in South America because Rio was kind of a disaster, and I think a lot of the people in Rio know that. So, India would be interesting. Definitely a lot of work would need to be done for building stadiums and infrastructures and stuff. So I think out of all these most recent ones, I would say Istanbul would probably be the most realistic. I'd rule out Indonesia, even if it is Jakarta, simply just because it's in the same part of the world as Brisbane, which is going to be the host before them. So I'm going to eliminate Indonesia. So I'll probably go with Istanbul as my early favorites, but it's too early to tell simply because they're going to be hosting the Euro soon. I mean, the president of their country is super invested in sports. He's a big sports fan, so they build stadiums like crazy there, so I can realistically say Istanbul might be one of the favorites. As for some of the potentials, Egypt's interesting because they just built a Olympic village there, but with stadiums and everything, but there's no game. So I don't know how that'll go. I don't have much hope for South Africa. Sorry for them. South Korea. I mean, I like the infrastructure there, but it's going to be the same time zone region of the world as Brisbane, and that'll be a huge knock against it. Doha and Riyadh, those will be two interesting picks, I would say, because we all know how the Arab world controversially wants to be the new face of sports. Like, critics say it's sports washing. Well, some people might actually say, oh, this could be good for them if it shines a spotlight, they might actually bring positive change. But whatever it is, it's certainly an interesting development, to say the least. Europe, Budapest, I know Hungary's building sports stadiums like crazy, like Turkey. Their president is building a ton of stuff related to sports. Florence / Bologna or Turin, I don't know anything about that. Copenhagen, I don't think that will be a realistic option. Toronto, Montreal, maybe that. If they split it, that could be less burden. Asia, Oh, these are the canceled bids, so not going through those. And now for the two that are the furthest out. For the World Cup in 2038, since 2030 and 2034 are already decided, go for 2038. Let's see the news. I see a bunch of joke ones, Mortar, the Death Star, but let's look at the realistic options here. It might be strange to see Japan's name pop up because that would technically be infringing on FIFA's continental rotation policy, because Saudi Arabia is also Asia. And obviously the Winter Games for Sapporo didn't go good. That's what it's saying. 80,000 for the national stadium. That will probably be a good choice for renovation. Although they would probably want to convert it back to athletics just in case. They're saying they want to host it alone, but I do not think that's realistic at all for Japan. They're shrinking population, aging sports infrastructure. I'm just going to say right off the bat, they're going to have to co-host if they get it again. But the reason I say they might want to reconsider their continental rotation, because it's CONCACAF in 2026, and then it'll be Europe and South America for 2000 and Africa for 2030, and then Asia for 2034. So that only leaves Oceania and CONCACAF. So that kind of creates an awkward scenario. I know under the old FIFA president, they changed the continent rotation. So I think for 2038, they better change it after 2034. And I personally want there to be 64 teams starting in 2038, because I don't like the third place moving on thing. Like, it's just not really fair. Or maybe it's I wouldn't say fair, it's just awkward that you should just rely upon only what's in your group to advance, not on other groups. See here, Thailand is also looking at it too, same region of the world as Japan. Ghana, if there's like an Africa-wide thing that I guess they could do it. Ivory Coast, same part of the world as Ghana. So yeah, like if 2038 is going to be 64 teams, I think 2034 will be the last single hosts with Saudi Arabia. And from that point moving forward, what I would like to see is like continents rotate. So like CONCACAF region in South America will host in 2038. And then in 42, it'll be Europe and Africa. In 46 will be Asia and Oceania. That's personally what I would like to see, but you can't really predict with FIFA. As for the 2038 Winter Olympics, so far Switzerland did say they are interested for that. So, oh, wait, what is this? What is this? It looks like they already want Switzerland for 38, and then likely Japan for 42. I mean, Japan had to withdraw their previous winter bid because just some scandal stuff. But, you know, things change, and hopefully Japan will be in a better place when it's time for 42. So I guess I'll just predict 38 Switzerland, 42 Japan then. So yeah, I think that'll do it for this video.